economic numbers that came out. You saw that over the weekend. You saw it on Friday. We have just spectacular economic numbers. We're doing better than any nation on the planet, and we're very honored by that. In addition to which, we're paying interest rates, which the previous administration essentially didn't pay. So we've had tremendous numbers coming out, and that's a big thing. Our economy is doing incredibly. I want to congratulate the women's soccer team on winning the World Cup. That's an incredible achievement. It was a very exciting game. I got to see a little bit of it. And they're great players, and it's a great honor to have them capture it for the United States, fourth time, and that's a tremendous thing. So congratulations to the team on the World Cup. And if you have any questions, go ahead. Iran better be careful, because you enrich for one reason, and I won't tell you what that reason is, but it's no good. They better be careful.
You have a reaction to the British ambassador's comments that were reported about today?
I haven't seen it, but, you know, we've had our little ins and outs with a couple of countries, and I would say that the UK and the ambassador has not served the UK well. I can tell you that. We're not big fans of that man, and he has not served the UK well. So I can understand it, and I can say things about him, but I won't bother. Yeah, we're moving ahead with the census. They're spending $15 billion or some ridiculous amount of money on a census. I don't know why we can't do that through the computers of the world, because frankly, that's the way you can do a census today, and probably a lot more accurately. But they're spending $15 to $20 billion on a census. They're asking everything except, are you a citizen of the United States? How ridiculous is that? So we are moving forward. We have a couple of avenues, and our Attorney General is doing a fantastic job in many ways, and I think he's got it under control. We can do a memorandum, we can do an executive order, we're looking at different things, but there are other alternatives. And again, I believe our Attorney General, fantastic man, and I think he's got it very well under control. Yeah, I think the New York Times story is a hoax. I think anything the New York Times writes nowadays, they're really, you know, they use the word unhinged. The New York Times, I call it the failing New York Times for a reason. Check out their unfunded liability and see what they're worth. They're a failing, they're already a failed New York Times. But when they write a story like that, I went to my people and they said, sir, it's not true. We told them about a crisis. They said it was manufactured. They laughed and they scoffed for months. And then it turned out that it wasn't manufactured. It's a crisis. We were right about that. We told them that the detention centers are really full, and they've got to change the loopholes, and they have to change asylum. They have to change the immigration laws. We can do it quickly, but we have no votes to do it because the Democrats won't vote. We need some of their votes. But the New York Times story is a fabrication. Now, I look at things and I saw visually, I had people there that told me the job that they are doing is incredible. And in all cases, if you look, people that came from unbelievable poverty, that had no water, they had no anything, where they came from, those are people that are very happy with what's going on because, relatively speaking, they're in much better shape right now. The Border Patrol and all of the law enforcement that's working on the border, it's incredible what they're doing. They've had to become nurses. They've had to become janitors. They've had to become things that they were never trained to do, all because the Democrats refused to change the loopholes and the asylum laws, the immigration laws. So I think it's a disgrace. And the New York Times is basically a partner with the Democrats, the way I look at it. They should never be allowed to write stories like that. It's a disgrace.
So did the numbers fall? Female athletes deserve.
Yeah, the numbers are going down because Mexico is doing a lot. Mexico is building up to over 20,000 soldiers at the border, so the numbers are going down, yes.
Paid as much as their male. Do you believe female athletes can be paid as much as their male?
I would like to see that. Now, you also have to look at numbers, because when you look at World Cup soccer, that's one thing, and you also have to look at soccer, professional soccer. You have to see who's taking in what. So I don't know what those numbers are. I would like to see that, but again, you have to look at the great stars of the men's soccer, the great stars of the women's soccer, and you have to see year-round, how are they all drawing? What is the attendance for women's soccer outside of World Cup? But I would like to see it, yes.
Mr. President, you ever comment on Jeffrey Epstein stars?
No, I don't know anything about it. That I don't know about. What? We haven't really thought about it. We will look at that, certainly. Yeah.
You said earlier that Iran should be careful. What are you thinking about in terms of a response?
Iran's doing a lot of bad things. And remember this, the Obama agreement, which was the most foolish agreement that you'll ever find, it expires in a very short period of time. So whether you have this conversation now or in a number of years from now, a few number of years, it's a very important conversation, except the way they want it, they would have automatic right to have nuclear weapons. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. Thank you very much, everybody. Well, we're doing very well with China. That's right. They're meeting, but most importantly, we're doing very well with the tariffs. We're taking in billions and billions of dollars from China. We've never taken in 10 cents from China. China has ripped us off during Obama and Biden, during, in all fairness, Bush and other presidents, and Clinton, obviously. And right now, China's not very happy because thousands of companies are leaving China and they're going to other places, including the United States, because they don't want to pay tariffs. And the other thing is China's paying the tariffs. They're devaluing their currency and they're pumping money in. That's paying for the tariffs. Our people have not been paying for the tariffs. Thank you. Thank you. Well, if the Fed knew what it was doing, they would lower rates and they would stop quantitative tightening. If you look at Europe, what they're doing is they're pumping money in and they're having rates lowered so they can compete with us. Just remember, the European Union was set up in order to compete with the United States, okay? And when they have a man, Draghi, if you look at what he's done, I mean, he's made them somewhat competitive. Now, despite everything, they're not doing well and we're doing great. Europe is not doing well at all, they're doing great. But we're put in an unfair playing field when they cut interest rates and when they pump in a lot of money. And we're doing just the opposite. We're taking money out and interest rates have gone up. If the Fed didn't do what it did, or if it did even half, we would have a Dow that would be as good as it is. We're doing so good. But we would have a Dow that would be anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 points higher.
Is Chairman Powell's job safe, sir?
What we're going to do is I'm going to start showing some of these detention centers to the press. I want the press to go in and see them. And I just spoke to Mark Morgan, and I just spoke with, as you know, Kevin. So we're going to send people in. We're going to have some of the press go in and sit because they're crowded, and we're the ones that were complaining about they're crowded. They're crowded because people come up. But now, thanks to Mexico, it's slowing down greatly, and I think you'll start seeing some very good numbers. But it is crowded. But we want to have the press go in and see. Because, you know, the New York Times, it really is fake news. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody.